For a deeper look at this, Erick Laming joins me now. He's a PhD candidate in criminology at the University of Toronto and is researching police use of force and police oversight and Indigenous and Black community members' experiences with law enforcement. Thanks for being here, Erick.
Thanks for having me.
First off, what are your thoughts on the Evan Penner video?
It's concerning. Anytime this happens and a community member is use of force incidents is used against them, it's always concerning to see. And it's more concerning to see that it's an Indigenous person, because we've seen this throughout the past few weeks and throughout Canada that, these cases are still happening, and it's been happening for decades. It's just we're more exposed to it with video now.
How difficult is context when we don't see events leading up to the video?
It's always difficult, and it's always a challenge, because that's the problem with bystander video. Usually you only get the actual use of force incidents, or it's happening already in transition of that. So if you don't have the context before, it's difficult to have a true, complete judgment or assessment of an incident. A body camera might help in that case, provide a little bit of context. It might also not be the best perspective as well. CCT camera, if that was available, that might help as well, but not having full context always makes things more complicated.
As you mentioned, this is just one of many videos that we've seen showing police using force against Indigenous or people of color. What's the relationship between police and these communities?
It's not the best. I would go as far to say there is a broken trust within the Indigenous population and most of the law enforcement agencies across Canada. Not to say that there's not good relationships within some of the areas and some of the communities, but generally when you're looking at these issues, it seems like it's weekly now. We're seeing either an Indigenous person killed by police or injured, seriously injured. So the trust is pretty, it's broken right now. It needs to be, long-term repair needs to be involved in this.
In your research, what have you found that can help limit use of force in these situations, especially against Indigenous peoples?
It's difficult, because you can look at First Nations policing, and you have those communities that are usually policed by Indigenous officers. Those are people from those communities. They can hopefully deal with the people a little bit better. They can relate to them. They have the same, similar shared histories, lived experiences. It's easier for them to deal with certain issues in those communities. But when you have, non-Indigenous policing and you have a large urban area, it's difficult to have any one solution that can prevent use of force, because it's always going to be there. It'll happen. We have to look at how training is being approached in these cases, de-escalation. How does that factor into the training that police go through, and how effective is it? We just don't know how effective it is right now, because there's been no evaluative research on de-escalation techniques. But it really depends on the situation, and an officer can amplify a situation very quickly, can escalate to a certain degree where you don't want it to get to, but it can happen very quickly. And a lot of Indigenous peoples are already suspicious of police. They feel targeted, so that can increase their stress level when they see an armed officer, and it's not a good combination.
Many provinces have an oversight committee of some kind to look into these incidents. Saskatchewan does not. Should it?
Yes, 100%. We have 6 provinces and territories that currently do not have an oversight agency that independently investigates police serious injuries or death with citizens. I know Saskatchewan has been reluctant to do it. The Justice Minister has called them very costly, and yes, they are costly, but you have to have the proper accountability mechanisms in place for things to work properly. So by kind of shifting that responsibility onto the Public Complaints Commission, it's kind of a half approach. It's really not going to solve the issues, because they really have no binding power as is with their decisions. So it's not going to make anything better in the long term.
Erick, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.